Hi team, welcome back. So this is going to be the second mock interview. Basically, in this interview, what we are going to do is we are going to record by increasing the level of question. Basically, in last interview, what you can say, uh, uh, we are basically asking the question something like, what is this, what is that, what is pointer and things like that. Now, in this level, we are going to ask or change the pattern to why is this, why is that, basically like why we have something, why not existing thing. So question is going to be little bit complex, so this is going to increase little bit complexity in our question. So yep, let's move ahead. Astos is going to take my interview and I'm going to answer that. uh, so yeah, Astos, let's start.
Firstly, give me your quick introduction.
Yeah, sure. So I'll start with my quick intro. Basically, I have close to 5 year of experience, and in the journey of this 5 year experience, I got exposure of ad tech company, insurance based company, some electronics company like Hitachi. So multiple domains I explored. Technology wise, primarily I use the Go language as my primary language, and database wise, got exposure of close to all kind of database like SQL, NoSQL, and key value pair. Other thing is like queuing system. Also, I got exposure like Kafka and RabbitMQ, Apache Pulsar. So yeah, these things. Some extra complex, not extra complex, you can say. Some complex technology exposure also I got like Uber Cadence, Hersheycop Vault, Key Clock. So these APIs also I have created. Uh, and yep, so experience wise, uh, addition of microservice, VSCs, and other things, I got the exposure. So yeah.
Okay, now let's proceed question answer.
Sure.
Why do you search for Golang?
Yes, so basically, in my case, I learned the HTML, CSS just to create a website of normal, a typical student when I was in college, and very soon I came to know like with the help of HTML, CSS, the complete website cannot be created. I do have knowledge of Python, sorry, Java at that moment, but still I search for if that is going to be better option or not. When I searched for that, I came to know like, yeah, there is Go language which is going to be much better, and there was some promising advantages also on Golang side. So that is why I dig a bit more on that side and did some more research just to make sure uh, the choice which I am going to make is correct or not. So based on that, I search for the Go language.
Okay, why we create project workspace in a Golang?
Yes, so yeah, Go language is statically typed, so it follows some strict rules and regulations. So that is why we have to create workspace. Like we have our Golang dependency, we have Golang folder structure. So there are multiple things. So creating the workspace is help us in combining all the things, all the required modules in the same place. So that is why it is required in the Go language to create the workspace. So yeah.
Okay, why we have package in Golang?
Yes, so packages wise, we there are two types of package we can say. We have core package and third party packages. Third party packages in the sense the packages which we import on from GitHub, and core packages in the sense the packages which are provided by the Go code itself or Go library itself. There is one more type of package which is user defined package. Let's say if I am following some pattern like MVC pattern or three layered architecture, so it means we are going to distribute our code in smaller units. So these units are basically declared as a package, and we basically import those units via package only and use that code. Advantages of packages is like basically not putting all the code at the same place, distributing it in order to make it more understandable, readable, easy to debug also if that's the case, easy to like formatting mentioning the or pardoning the code in order to maintain some business logic, maintain some package logic kind of thing. So that is where package is going to help us a lot. Basically it is more towards maintaining the code when I talk about user defined one, and when we talk about GitHub and core, then that their scenario is the different one.
Okay. Why we have constant and variable, two separate things.
Yes, yeah, we have constant and we have variable, two separate things. Uh, the reason behind that, what I can say is like that what is constant and variable, that we already know. Like constant is something which cannot change its value, and variable is something which can change its value even like multiple times, any number of times. What we can say. So that's the definition of those two things. Now, why we have that? The question, it is something like, let's say sometime we have some, let's say some password or some pin or something which we don't want to change in our laptop also. Let's say if we have some BIOS number or something, so that never changes throughout the laptop life. So that is something which is stored in a some constant variable kind of thing, which is our ROM. So that is where it is stored. And there are many things which change also, so that is something stored in the variable. So we know that in our program, in our project, there may be scenario where there is something which should not change at all. So that is where we use constant. Let's say if we have a database connection and our server start for the first time, what happens, we are going to connect to that database, and that database have definite some fixed IP, some fixed port number, so that is not going to change. When that is not going to change, so then in that case we can declare it constant. What happen if we declare it constant? If we declare it constant, then by mistake also, if someone wants to change that, or some code wants to modify that, that is not going to be possible, and that is what it should be also. Whereas when we go with the variable, in that scenario it may change. So that is not feasible solution. Whereas if I take the variable example, then in that case, let's say anything, some student name, or if I take a student example, student name, class, so class also get used, student get promoted to next class. So in that case, if class I declare as a constant, then if he is in second class, he is going to be in second class only. So that is why variable is also required, where the things has to change also, the values has to change. So that's the definition.
Okay. Why we assign value to variable?
Yes, so basically we assign value to variable only when we know that that value is going to be used in future. Let's say if something I get, let's say uh, for real life example, I can say if someone is giving to me something, I keep that thing to me only when I am sure that in future I may use that. Let's say if there is nothing like I'm going to use that, I'll throw that, or discard that, don't take that. If that is something going to help me somewhere or in future, then only we assign to a variable. So value we assign to variable because we think that that value is going to be used in future, and that variable to which we have assigned, that is going to be used to call that value again or see that value again. So that is why it is required.
Okay. Why we have different data types in Golang?
Yes, okay. So basically, different data types. There are many data types we know, like we have float, we have boolean, integer, string. So what's the reason behind this many data types? Even non-primitive also. So I think the reason behind this is basically to classify some data. Let's say in our real life, if we say we have containers, one container can store solid food, one container is used for storing liquid food. Now if we ask question like why not something which can store both, and we use that, like why not a bottle, some kind of bottle which store liquid also, and same bottle you store food also. So we don't have that because that is not feasible. that help us in classification also. Same goes in programming languages also. Same, on behalf of same thing we declare different data types also. Like if we declare integer, it means it is not going to store a string. Now in future, let's say if we have to add something, multiply something, so since because of integer data type we are going to easily multiply it, but let's say if there is string which store everything, in that case then multiplication of two values is not that easy. Even the kids have multiple notebook also, Hindi notebook, English notebook, and math notebook. They are also storing separate ways. So just like, not just like that, but yeah, basically we have different data type to classify the values in different set, though, so that our life is easy in future for uh, calculation or operations. So yeah, that is the answer.
Okay. Why we have non-primitive data types?
Yes, that is important. So non-primitive data type is basically our let's say structure. So structure is something which is combination of primitive data type, and itself it is non-primitive data type. It is it is useful. It is useful when we have to combine multiple non-primitive data type to generate one set of object. Or in term of Java it is class. In our Go language it is object. Let's say if we say bottle, so bottle have multiple feature, multiple things like bottle have lid, bottle have color, what kind of bottle, plastic or metal bottle. So if I have to define a bottle, then these parameters should be clubbed together in order to represent one single bottle. So non-primitive data type is going to help us in that. It is going to declare like we can declare one structure as a bottle and all the fields like color, material, type, many things inside that. Now when we call bottle variable or bottle non-primitive data type, these all fields are going to come together as a club part. So that is going to help us in many calculation, many operations also. So that is why I think non-primitive data type is very important. Basically to generate the object it is important.
Okay. Why we have array and slice, two different data structure?
Yes, we have two separate things, array and slices. So basically, array is something which basically stores some data of up to fixed length. Slices is something which have dynamic length. Most important difference. So other is slice is of this reference type. So that is also one thing. But the most important is of the dynamic length allocation of the slice. Now with the help of one example we can understand why we need these two separate things. Let's say we have pin. So ATM pin or something. So ATM pin have fixed length, 4 digit or 6 digit. That is not going to change. Any user wanted to insert 7 digit, it is not going to take. So that is going to fix length. So that is where if we get some data structure which store up to some fixed length, so that is going to help us. So that is why array is declared. Array is going to help us in achieving this task. Now let's say the second scenario, slice one. So let's say a class, a school is a school is opening for admissions, and it is going to accept the admission form. So any number of admission forms can be applied. The student who are going to selected has the limited quantity, let's say 60 student per class, but the number of applicant who can apply is not limited. So that is where slice is going to help. Any number of can apply, slice is going to increase its size based on the number of applicant. So that is why slice is needed. So now based on sorry, now based on requirement we can understand that slice is useful in the dynamic allocation and array is useful. So both of these are required in different scenarios. So yeah, that
Okay.
is why it is required.
Why we have interface in a Golang?
Yes, very important thing, or you can say one of the important thing in the Golang interface is something. Uh, Real life example, if I understand interface, when we say interface, it means connecting two things. In generally, connecting two things is where interface term is used. So yeah, if we go in the coding side or our programming language Go side, so we understand like interface is something which can accept any value if you wanted to store. So that is also one thing. Second thing is like it can help us in method overloading, so which is basically a concept of connecting with different methods to one method, or one function can communicate with different methods based on their structure. So that is also can be achieved by interface. Here also connection is going on. So interface is very important in order to communicate or make connections. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Uh, why we have method overloading?
Yeah, method overloading is also one of the feature of interface only. So method overloading is basically something like uh, same method name, and that method name one function or one method can call another method, and the method which it is calling uh, m- have same name, but there are multiple methods. Let's say area is one method something we declared, and that area can calculate area for circle also, area for right angle triangle also, area for square also. So same area method can is declared for all these three structure. Now with the help of method overloading we can pinpoint which area to be calculated with the help of our structure, whatever structure which we have provided. So that is why method overloading is help us. It help in automatically communicating which method has to be called. So yeah, that is the importance.
Okay. Why we have function and method to separate concept in a Golang?
Yes, function and methods are two separate concepts. So basically, function is something which can be called from anywhere or and by anything. There is no some condition that it has to be called via structure only. Let's say any example. If I say that let's say add two numbers. So add two number in order to add two number, we can call a function which is declared somewhere add two number, and we just use that. When we talk about method, so method is something which is called via structure only. Whatever structure is attached to function, that converts is if we attach a structure to function, it becomes a method. Now that method is going to call via that structure only. So that is the difference, or what I can say, that is what method is and that function is. Now the reason is why we have that. So basically function is very common. We understand that function is required because we wanted to divide our code in smaller units. Method also do the same, but why we have separate concept as method, why not the function only? So basically uh, when we have method, it means we are going to restrict some access, we are going to attach something to some specific block of code. So that is, let's say some student is there, so we wanted to perform some operation with the student. We write some code and as a method to student structure. In that case what will happen is like if we type student and dot, then all the methods attached to that is going to be visible, but other methods like teacher method is not going to be visible. So that is also it is going to help us. It means it is going to restrict, or it is going to available for that particular structure only. So that is where its achievement also.
Okay. How map will be us as a data structure?
Okay, so how map can be used as a data structure? What I can say is like map is key value pair, and it store the keys and values. So it is very useful when we wanted to memorize something, and memorize in the sense our code wanted to store something, and that is also some in sorting order or something where the time complexity can be minimum when we wanted to read some particular thing. Let's say if we use slice instead of map, so there also things can be achieved. Only issue is like for the values we have to range whole slice. Okay, whereas when we go with the map, what happen is like map store the keys and we pass the key, we get the value right away. So in that case it the storing of the value is optimized way. The operation is going to be not as costly as slice compare. So that is why we need map. So, yeah, it is important data structure.
Okay. Why we have importable and non-importable concept in a Golang?
Yes, there are two concept of importing and non-importing. importable or non-importable, we can say. Basically, importable means we can call that particular block of code, call that block of section of code. But when we say non-importable, it means that part is restricted to that package only. uh, it help in achieving the security. It helps us in achieving the security. It helps us in restricting some set of code outside that package, so that sometimes it help in security, sometimes it avoid the complexity also outside that package. If they don't see that, then they don't call it, or then don't try to call it other packages. So in that case also it decrease some complexity sometimes also. So that are the key importance of importable, non-importable.
Okay, why we have Go routine?
Yeah, go routine is something, first of all, go routine is something which we use to achieve the concurrency. Concurrency is mean running two process at the same time, or multiple process at the same time. So go routine is very important thing. Let's say if we have a program which want us to calculate uh, conne- uh, uh, real life example, not real life, code wise, very genuine example I am taking. Let's say if we start our server, we connect it to database, and after connecting to database we run our API server. Now what happen is, like, when our API is running, somewhere in between, what happened, our database restarted. What happened in that case, our database connection is gone from our code. Now what we want is, like, we want to reconnect to database so that our API continues to work. What happen is, like, I can run one code, one block of code, uh, before each API call, to make sure database connection is there. If not, then connect it and then run the API call. That can be one thing. Another thing is, like, write some block of code which can run independently continuously. At some interval of time, it automatically check whether database connection is there. If not, then it reconnects to database. That is something which is what achieved by go routine. So that is the important. Like, sometimes what happen is, we need something which run at parallel or separately uh, to the main execution code, uh, and take care of some block of logic or some set of logic independently, and this main set of codes can run separately. So that is where go routine is very required. It basically help us in achieving the multiple process at the same time.
Okay, why we need concurrency when we have parallelism?
Yes, concurrency and parallelism is two separate things. Parallelism is basically running two process or multiple process at the same time on, uh, and concurrency is something running multiple process at the same time in a smarter way. A smarter way in the sense, what we can say is, let's say if we have four cores, four core, so four process can run independent. Let's say if there is fifth process came in, what happened in that case? It has to share either of the core, any of the core. So any of the core, when it has to share, then the parallelism is not going to be there. What happens, some new things required in that case. So that new thing is concurrency, which basically says that let's switch the processes in such a way that it looks like parallel, but uh, uh, it is running concurrently. So it creates illusion kind of thing, concurrency. And that is required because we have limited number of cores. We, let's say you have very strong CPU, and that processor have 8 core, 10 core, 100 core, 200 core, but number of cores are limited. If you have 200 core, then there may be scenario when 500 go routines run. What will happen in that case? Then concurrency has to come in. So as long as you have lots of core, concurrency is without concurrency, parallelism is okay. But when number of cores decrease compared to decrease or not enough compared to go routine, in that case concurrency is required. Yeah.
Okay, why we have channel? Why not some existing solution?
Yes, channel is basically something which we have to communicate between go routines. Now question is, why channel? Why not some existing solution? So we have existing wise, we have variables. So when we pass something via variable to any function, we don't get acknowledgement that yeah, that value is passed or that value is consumed. We don't get. With the help of channel we get the acknowledgement, we can get the acknowledgement, we can see there is lock also. We can see since there are, the process is going to independent. It is something like channel is basically used in the go routing only. So it is something like if process is independent, you don't know whether it consumed the value or not. If you pass something to it, it get that, it consume that or not. When you are passing against something new to that, again that time it is consuming that or not, how will you know? So that is where channel is required, where it gives the acknowledgement also, it holds the value also, it provide lock also to the value. So there are multiple features which come with the channel that uh, help us in managing our values transfer easy and smooth. So that is why it is required. Existing cannot give us acknowledgement and things. Yeah.
Okay. Why we have different type of channel?
Yes, there are different type of channels. Sometimes we have synchronous coroutine, sometimes asynchronous. So based on that, we need buffered, unbuffered. Sometimes we know that we are going to send the value, we never going to receive the value. So based on that, also there is directional, bidirectional channel. So these things are required to make sure, make some restriction, uh, make some extra features kind of thing. Let's say if I say buffered one, so buffered one give extra feature like asynchronous feature it provides. That is why we need buffered one in order to achieve asynchronous process. And in order to restrict some sending or receiving, we need directional and directional, unidirectional kind of things. So these concepts are required to achieve some features or apply some restriction.
Okay. Why we have differ in Golang?
Yes, differ is an important keyword which act as a try catch error kind of thing of the Java. It follows stack architecture. It makes sure that it run at the end of function caller. It follows some static fixed order. So with the help of differ, what we can do is like we can make sure the connection is closed, we can make sure we can do the recovery. So these things are very important. Like if we don't have differ, what will happen is like we have to make sure that at the end we close the connection. We have to make sure that there should not be any panic, because if there is panic then it is not going to easy to recover. So that is where differ is going to help us recovering. We can close connection right away when we open with the differ keyword, it will close at the end only. So these things are very important things.
Okay. Why we have anonymous function?
Yeah, anonymous function is something, a function which is which don't have name. So basically if it don't have name, it means it is cannot be called in the future, it has to be called right away. So there is scenario when we know that there is one block of code which is going to be run right away and it is not going to be called in the future. Then in that case we can use anonymous function, which means don't give any name, write the definition of the function right away and write the set of statements right away and execute it and just forget it. So in that case anonymous function is going to help us, because otherwise it, if we declare it with any name, then it is going to sit there forever as long as our server run, even though we are not going to use that. So that is why we needed some concept like this, where we can create a function, we can use it and then discard that function, remove that from the memory itself. So that is where
Okay.
anonymous is useful.
Yeah. Okay. Why we have init function and why it run before main function? What?
Init function is something which help us in init function help us in setting up the configuration whenever our server is start for the first time. So it help us in setting up the configuration, uh, uh, providing the essential environment for the main function. um, Third party packages have their own init function. It basically used in setting up connection with the database, let's say reading values from the environment variable. So these things are uh, there, and init function guarantees that it runs for only once. Init function guarantees that it run before the main function. So yeah, that is the important part of init function, like loading in required thing, or setting up ecosystem on environment for main to run. So yeah.
Okay, your interview is done.
Yeah, thanks team, thanks Astos,
Thank you.
thanks,
Thank
bye.
you. Bye.